Hello everybody, Big Plains here. Now before I dive too deep into this video on Concorde, I would like to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. So thank you to everybody on Patreon who has helped to support the channel. It really means a lot to me, and it's actually one of the reasons why I'm able to build these things in the first place. So I will leave a link to my Patreon in the description below if you want to go help support the channel over there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of progress has been made on this thing since you last saw it, and I'm gonna go over a few different things we've done, and I have gotten some viewer feedback on certain issues, and I'll try to explain to the best of my ability how I've actually incorporated all that feedback into the model. So let's start off first with the obvious one, which is the wing. It has a wing now, yeah. So the majority of the Delta wing has been completed. Now, obviously, there are still some areas of it that aren't done yet, obviously, but most of it is done, and I think it actually looks pretty good. I mean, I'm going to try to show it to you from a couple different angles here so you can see it better, but you can see I got the leading edge on, which was not on in the last video, and yeah, I think it actually looks really good. Now, of course, there are still some things that have yet to go on yet, and I still have to smooth some areas out, but the Delta wing has actually worked out really well on this thing, and that was one of the major hurdles I would have had to overcome to be able to build this plane. And yeah, I'm happy to report that it's coming along very nicely. So the next part of this thing that I got some progress done on was, well, the trailing edge. So from a distance, it may not look like much has happened here, and it really isn't too much, but I did get the flaps in, so you can see it's like a double hinge mechanism, so I can, or these technically aren't flaps, they're elevons, which means they can go up or down, but you can see that it goes down like this, and then all these can also do that. It takes a little bit of coordination to be able to do so, but yeah, they all do work exactly how they were intended to. And yeah, so those are the elevons on Concorde. I still have yet to get in the engines, and you can see that I have installed the lights. So when I want to have engines that light up with afterburners, I can do that. So there's just a little switch down here in the engines area, and when I flip that, it lights up. Now I might add more lights in there to be a little brighter, but that's what I have done so far for the afterburners. You can see I have some ideas over here for how I want to do those. I want to be able to have the reverse thrust, so it's why you can see I want them to be able to like open up like this, so we can get it's interesting. I'm still working on it, but the afterburners are in. I still need to smooth out the area under the flaps, so do be aware of that. But yeah, that's all dealt with. And some other key areas of this thing that I have been able to accomplish are the doors. So you can see this thing kind of protruding out here a little. That is intentional because they are kind of hard to open. They're usually flush like this. You can see you can't even tell that there's a door there, but I extended this one out a little bit just to show you. You can see if I even get this to work. There we go. That the doors do function now. I don't remember if this was in the last video, but they do function, so that's great. And I want to talk about viewer feedback now, because I got a few bits of viewer feedback that I have actually incorporated, because this plane is hotly demanded amongst the community for good reasons. It's a very beautiful and iconic aircraft, which has a lot of super fans. So I'm going to talk about first the windows. So if you remember, originally there were a window tile. So I spread those out. I think I told you that in the last video. But now I replaced, sorry, I'm grabbing a piece. I replaced these curved slopes right here, which were right here. I just replaced those for cheese slopes running all the way down. And somebody had suggested I do that. I think it was on my Flickr, so I'm not sure it's on YouTube. But when I did that, it actually completely eliminated all of the like saw effect or the grooves effect that was happening, and it's actually very smooth now. So it's kind of hard to tell because the door's open on that side, but you can see that there are no longer any saws or sort of grooves sticking out, which is amazing. I'm happy that I was able to get rid of that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this one's a little bit less obvious, but it matters, and that is the Concorde is angled slightly back. So I raised the nose gear by a stud, so you can tell that it is now leaning backwards a little bit, and that is intentional. I'm going to try to get you a bit better of an angle here. There you go. You could see it slightly leaning back, and that is intentional because Concorde did slightly lean back on its very tall nose gear, especially I believe that was for the droop snoop, but I'll look at that more in the future. All right, the last bit of viewer feedback that I tried to incorporate, but it's just not going to be able to happen, is the anhedral on the wings. Now, if you're not aware of what an anhedral is, that's where the wings at the very end droop down. So it's the opposite of like this thing, which is a dihedral, which means the wings bend upwards. An anhedral is when they bend down, which usually is less harder to get, or less harder, is that? No, it's much less difficult to get because naturally things want to warp, and that is just gravity for you. But this one, because of the bricks on side construction of the upper wing, which is actually fairly rigid, it doesn't allow for much flexing either way. So I wasn't able to get a super strong anhedral. You can kind of see that. I'm going to try to get you a little lower angle. You can kind of see that it bends a little bit down, that the flaps are there, so it kind of looks a little better. But I was not able to get a natural anhedral, so that's just one of the compromises that we're going to have to deal with. But I don't think it's overly noticeable. I mean, you can tell it's not there, but it's not the most noticeable thing in the world. So yeah, I'm sad to report that those aren't in, but in my opinion, it wasn't the biggest loss. I'd rather have a much smoother and beautiful looking wing, because Concorde was very sleek, than have a slight anhedral and have things look terrible. And one more smaller note is I did actually get some fan blades in the engines there, so the fan compressors, those are in. And again, that's just one of those smaller details that really doesn't matter that much, but it's there, so technically it is on the model. So that's all I really have for this one. Oh, last one. I have designed a tail for this. Now this is a multicolor tail. Obviously, as you can quite clearly see, it's not in the right colors, but you can kind of see here I was getting the geometry here. So this is red, this will be red, this will be blue, dark blue, this will be a white stripe, and then this part here will all be blue, and then the rest will be white, and then we'll have the so I'm trying to do this without printing it, because if I did make instructions for this, most people can't print on Lego. I mean, I can do that if I want. It's very expensive and it takes a specialty printer, but I want to try to get this where if I did make instructions at some point, I could do this so it's brick built from the beginning, and it might only require 1 or 2 small stickers here and there. So that's really it for this video. It's already been 7 minutes long, almost 8 minutes, and yeah, that's all I really have for this one. Expect some more updates coming soon. We are moving really quickly on this thing, and I think once the wing is done, which it will be in the next few days here, I'm going to start moving forward onto the nose, which is going to be really challenging because, as you all know, Concorde has that iconic folding down nose, the droop snoop as it's known as, and that's going to take a little while to get right, but I think we can do it. So that's all I really have for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll be back for more. That's it for this one, and bye for now.